Good evening, everyone. My name is Nick Hudson, Chief Growth Officer of the Yleana Leadership Foundation. On behalf of the entire Board of Directors, staff, teachers, students, and community that we serve, thank you for your support of our important mission. And welcome to the Ileana Inaugural Virtual Gala, the 2020 Summer Campfire. Tonight we celebrate the students, community partners, and supporters of our foundation's mission to close the achievement gap, one student at a time. Before we hear from some of these storytellers, let's talk about some important background for the Yleana Leadership Foundation. First, although we were founded in 2013, our story really begins in 1975. That's when Elda Ileana Arce immigrated to the United States from South America. Her dream was to become a doctor. She was quickly dismissed and told that that was going to be impossible. As a Latina immigrant, no white patients would want to see her, and so no hospitals would want her either. At least that's what she was told. She chose to ignore those, to overcome those obstacles. And she went on to medical school, she became a physician, and Elda Ileana Arce later became the head of the Adolescent Medicine Clinic at Children's National Medical Center in Washington, D.C. It is in her memory that the Yleana Leadership Foundation is named, and it is her honor that we serve students every day. Second thing to know about the Yleana Leadership Foundation is our flagship program, the Yleana Leadership Academy. It's a 3-week-long intensive college readiness boot camp. It takes place directly on college campuses. For many of our students from underserved backgrounds, this is the first time they've ever stepped foot on a real college campus before. Now, we invite students from traditionally underserved backgrounds and underrepresented areas, and it's all free. The tutoring, room, board, meals, transportation, all at no cost to our students. Over those 3 weeks, our students share long days of elite test prep. We're talking 8 hours a day plus of just the SAT alone, on top of classes that have to do with college seminars on readiness, entrepreneurship projects, seminars on current issues, and countless conversations with fellow students from around the country that build confidence, critical thinking, and creativity as our students prepare to apply and attend the college of their dreams. But for all of us at Ileana, our work doesn't end with a student's acceptance into a 4-year university. It continues with their success in life. It's this important distinction and close, lasting relationships with our students that make our model uniquely positioned to help close the educational achievement gap. Tonight you'll hear from some of our students and community partners themselves. The submissions we ask for are unedited. They're real, just like our students, just like their experiences. And that's where the idea of the Campfire comes in. At our annual academic summer camps on real college campuses like Mount Holyoke in Massachusetts or Colgate University in upstate New York, Campfire Night is at the center of what we do. It's a safe place where students and staff reinforce each other's success, share goals that we're working towards, support one another, laugh, and bond. And that's what tonight's really about. Our first Ileana Campfire storyteller and perfect example of the type of amazing young person we work with here at Ileana is Miss Diamond Jones. Diamond is from Baltimore, Maryland, where she attended high school at Cristo Rey Jesuit in Baltimore City, and she just attended Ileana Leadership Academy last summer in 2019. She discovered the academy when she attended a presentation made at her high school, made by our executive director, Elissa, who you'll hear from later. It was made to the National Honor Society, which Diamond was a part of in high school. Diamond was just admitted to Smith College in Massachusetts and is enrolling this fall. She plans to major in English and minor in early childhood education. Before she begins, I'd like everyone to open your complimentary gala gift box and take out item A. We'd like to start with a surprise toast to Diamond and the students like her, who took a risk by coming to the academy without knowing a lot of people, away from home, with new friends and new teachers. That risk and her success make students like Diamond the Elda Ileana Arce of 2020. It's stories like hers that make Ileana's mission so important. So please join me in toasting Diamond and all our students like her.
Hello, my name is Diamond Jones, and I'm from Baltimore, Maryland. I went to Ileana in the summer of 2019. I was a Session 2 kid, and it's really been a while since I went to Ileana, or since I really thought in depth about my story of Ileana, but Ileana and its impacts on me have been carrying me ever since I left. So basically, I was not. I never heard of Ileana. It was really introduced to me. I'm the type of person who likes to join every single thing in school. And so I joined NHS, National Honor Society, and they made it a requirement to go to this meeting for an organization called Ileana. And I was just like, what is this? Like, you're wasting my time. It was during my lunch period. I was just like, ugh. But I had to go, so I went. And what I thought was just going to be like a boring presentation was not it. Like all my expectations, it just wasn't it. Elissa was there and she was so energetic. She was so excited. She was so crazy, but in a good way. Like it really captured the attention of all the students. We were all sitting there like, okay, what is she going to talk about? So the first thing she told us was her SAT score. Shocked everybody. We were just sitting there like we could barely get 800s or 900s, or in the good cases, like the very rare cases, thousands. Like we were just sitting there like, oh, we need this. We need to listen. She told us about the program and she set the tone. By the end of her presentation, we were just like, oh, we need to apply. But the application didn't open for like another 2 months. So we were just like, oh, we're going to forget about this. But you know what? I wrote it down in my planner. And everybody knows that when I write things down in my planner, it's going to get done one way or another. So I wrote it down in my planner. And I continued on about my academic journey, went to classes, got my homework done, got my grades on, so on and so forth, until March came around. I think it was April, actually. March or April, one of those months. Till it came around, and I opened up the application, and it was just like, let's get it done. See, the application is kind of shaped to model or mimic the Common App application that you fill out when you're trying to apply to colleges. So it was really like something I needed to sit down and do because I've never been exposed to this type of application. So I'm doing the application. I think it took me around 5 or 6 hours to get it done because I wanted to do it so perfectly because I really wanted to get in. I really wanted to go, especially knowing that it was out of Maryland and I could like leave for 3 weeks. Like I really wanted to go. So I turned in my application, sent my prayers up, told my family what might be taking place during the summer so they knew not to reach me. And a couple weeks later, I got the email saying that I was in. Surprised? Yes. I was so happy. I was jumping down the walls. I don't think they calmed me down for a good week. Like, I was so excited. So, I finished out my junior year, and here comes the summertime, and you know what that means? We get to go to Ileana. Oh my gosh. We were so excited. We were sitting there, it was myself and another student from Crystal Ray. We were sitting there waiting outside of our school, and the bus came late. We were just like, oh, it's like that. Like, the bus came late, and we were so nervous already. The nerves just got worse and worse and worse. So the bus came really, really late. And so we get on. Turns out we're the last students. So not only are we getting on, and we're late, and we're tired, and we're a little probably angry and annoyed in the face, we're getting on, and everyone else is looking at us. And we're just like, oh, this is different. And so we got on, we got settled, everybody kind of got introductions that a lot of people weren't really talkative at the time. We were really tired. It was early. And so we headed off to Massachusetts. The ride was, I have no words to describe it. Our driver just so happened to like to run over potholes. And so he ran over every single pothole. And we were just flying out of our seats because, it was a big bus, a lot of people. So we were flying out of our seats. So by the time we got to the campus, Mount Holyoke College, we were tired and we were annoyed. We just wanted to get in. We wanted to sit down. I just wanted to sit down. Like, I was so tired. I didn't even get to sleep. Like, it was a mess. So we get to the college, we get in, it was raining, and so we're just like running inside. We run inside, we get all checked, and we're just all annoyed at this point. I'm annoyed. I'm very, very annoyed. My hair is wet, my back is hurting. It was just a mess. So Elissa came and she was like, "Are you ready?" And we were just like, "Do we look ready?" And so she was like, "Well, let's go." And so she took us into this room and she got us started. We got all of our books, we got all of our supplies. I realized that I didn't have a backpack and I needed one. But you know, that story is to come later. But we got started. Academic classes every day. They were split up into the sections of the test, and some blocks were longer than others because I think they needed more importance. And so we like there all day, probably around 3 or 4 o'clock, and we were up probably like 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning. So it was like a long day. But you know, academically, I was straight. I was set. It's the social part. You see, I'm a very clumsy person. I fall, I will trip over air. Not to mention, I have a really bad asthma. So, like, I don't do necessarily well in the heat. So, like, it was rough. I tripped and fell. My back was hurting a lot because of the bus ride, I think. And, like, we were falling. I couldn't participate in some of these activities because I was falling a lot and I was tripping and I couldn't do it. I actually ended up in the hospital, but like academically, I was good, so it wasn't too bad. So, Ileana's over. We're all sad. I made good friends. Like we were crying. I was not trying to cry, but my friend, my good friend, I told everybody I was like, do not cry. Please don't cry. I'm not one for waterworks. He hugged me, and next thing you know, I'm feeling like, and I'm like, are you crying? And he's like, yes. And so everybody started crying after that. It was so, like, now looking back on it, it's funny, but like, being in it, it was so sad. So we left and got on the bus. Baltimore bus was the first one to leave. Ironically, we get on the bus. They run over every pothole on the way back. And not to mention, we're so late that the Philly bus catches up to us. Like, we were so late that the Philly bus really was there with us. So we were just all like, oh, this is a mess. We get home and we're tired and all of that happens. And you know what? I'm just like, I just want the rest of this to get over. Time passes, we do the after program, and it's time for the SAT. And you know what? I walk into that room and I was ready. I was the only one with a watch. I was the only one prepared. And you know what? I didn't care because I knew I was going to do well on this thing. So I went in, we took the test. The test actually started late, but we went in, we took the test. I came out and I was like, I did this. I walked out a couple weeks later, got a 1200 on the SATs. And some more time passes. I end up getting into Smith College, and that's where I will be attending in the fall. Smith College, back up in Massachusetts. But you know what? Ileana really opened my mind and my eyes to what I can do if I really just spread my wings and try and fly. So you know what? I really thank Ileana for their impact in my life. I thank Ileana for their contributions because I don't really think I would be going to Smith College without Ileana. So thank you guys.
Thank you, Diamond. It's impossible not to feel her enthusiasm for our mission to end the achievement gap one student at a time. We are so proud of her progress and her achievement over the years and can't wait to continue to see what's in store for her as she continues to make us proud to call her an Ileana leader. But we at Ileana cannot continue to spread the word about our mission and to tell the stories of students like Diamond without your help. Each student scholarship, which is totally free for the students, costs Ileana approximately $5,000. Our goal tonight is to raise enough funds to send an additional student next year. We're currently about halfway there, so we've got a little bit to go. To donate and to get us across the final half of our goal for tonight, please donate at ileana.org/get involved. The link's up on your screen, and you can donate, you can sign up to be a volunteer, or just get involved as a partner organization or individual. Consider a gift today to Yleana Leadership Foundation and make a difference. Our next storyteller is none other than Executive Director and co-founder of Yleana Leadership Foundation, Elissa Bowlby. Elissa, or Elissa the SAT expert, as she's known on social media, has been tutoring students on test prep and college readiness for over a decade. A thought leader in the field, she is passionate about education and connecting with students, many of whom continue to reach out to her year after year for advice and support, long after attending the Ileana Leadership Academy. Tonight, Elissa will walk you through a very brief sample class. You'll get a glimpse of what our students learn and how we teach our students. And so with that, please open up your gala gift box and take out letter B. It's going to include questions that we'll go through right now, which are actual questions in the SAT. There's even a pencil in there in case you're considering retaking it for fun. Enjoy.
Hi, I'm Elissa Bowlby, Executive Director and co-founder of the Yleana Leadership Foundation. Since we started in 2013, we've had a lot of stories that we've been part of, stories that we've learned about, stories that we've helped make. We are so pleased and proud to have you with us tonight at our inaugural gala, where we're sharing stories of campfires to come and campfires that have already been. What I want to talk to you tonight a little bit more about is how we know so much about the test. When our kids come to Ileana, frequently they're really overwhelmed by the prospect of taking a test that they've been hearing is really important and controls your future and decides where you get into college, right? Those are all scary things. So we try to meet that head on and we try to say, yep, it's scary, but guess what? It's an instance of a system. You will see systems again. You have seen systems before. Here are the hallmarks of the system. Here are the idiosyncrasies of this particular system. Understand this, and you will have much more power. My goal is for students to have agency over their testing experience and agency over experiences that will happen, that will come for them in the future. At Ileana, we always talk about planting the seed. So the idea is, I only have 3 weeks with these kids. So I can't change their whole life in 3 weeks. But what I can do is plant a seed and trust, hope, pray that it will get watered and fertilized and see sunshine from some other place. So my goal is to give our kids agency, to give them the understanding of how the test works, how the test goes together, how to take it apart, and understand that because this is an instance of a system, other things that they will encounter in the future are also instances of systems. I want to build their critical thinking skills. I want to help them understand the difference between macro and micro, the ability to go from one to the other and back out very quickly. The ability to hook information that you are now learning, new information, to information that you currently have already. Hook those together so that not only will the new information stick better, but you'll have a context for it. That's knowledge mapping. That's how we retain information, and that's how we build critical thinking skills. Everything that happens at Ileana is infused with those bastions, right? This idea of retention, this idea of critical thinking skills, what can we do to help build those? So how does this apply to the test? You're probably saying, great question. So I want to take you inside our concept indexing database. So one thing I think it's important to understand about the concepts and how they work is that every question on every test that's been released by the College Board or that we've been able to get our hands on, we have identified the concept or concepts that are being tested on each, as well as like difficulty level, correct answer, all that stuff, as much as we're able to. So we have this for, as you can see, an exhaustive list of questions for Math Calc, which is section 4, Math No Calc, section 3, Writing, section 2, and Reading, section 1. So what do we do with all this data? Great question. Based on this, we can figure out what percentage of every section each concept is. So for instance, Zoom In, which is detail-oriented questions, are about 50% of the reading section. So that's super useful because that means that we can focus in on specifically Zoom-ins and know that our kids will have a key to like half the test. We can also measure sub things inside Zoom-in, such as like graph questions, which is like about 8% of the test, which shows up fairly often. Fetch, which is when they don't tell you where to look, but you have to find the citation in the passage. Most nearly means, which is where they're asking you to define something inside context. And Zoom In Squared, which is when they're asking you about a specific line number, something relates to that specific line number, and they tell you exactly where to look. So we even know exactly how much time to spend on these different types of Zoom In questions. Same with BOGOs. They have questions where they'll ask you a question and then they say, what's the evidence for this? We call them buy one, get one free because you do the 2 questions at the same time. And so you know that you want to spend most of your time on zoom-ins, followed closely by BOGOs, and then spend some time on the zoom-out, which is like the big idea questions. Let's look at writing data. So writing is testing. So about 75% of the test is soft skills, which is where they try to make some changes in the text and they ask you which of the following is the best answer. SS Punct, which is sentence structure punctuation, has to do with complete and incomplete thoughts and full stop, half stop punctuation. For instance, the difference between a comma and a semicolon, or a comma fanboys and a comma not with fanboys. Things like double or nothing, where they're testing, did you know that if you have a comma on one side of the parenthetical phrase, you have to have a comma on the other side? Line it up, which is lining things up in the sentence, which is kind of the watchword. Parallelism and consistency are the 2 watchwords of the SAT, and that is idiosyncratic to the test as a whole, not just the writing section. So they're always trying to line things up, whether it's grammatically or like parallel lines, or making sure that things get distributed throughout sentences. So verb tense, pronoun noun, subject verb agreement, parallelism. So by knowing exactly how much of the test each thing is made up of, we can say that in the first week, you should cover soft skills, SS Punct, and line it up, and you've done about 75% of the test, and your kids are good to go. And from there, then we can add the other more complicated concepts, the ones that don't come up as often, but are still obviously pretty useful to know. Going over to the math concept data, this is one of my favorite areas. So if you look at, for instance, ops, which is basic operations, basic mathematical operations, you'll see that this is covered in about 50% of the questions. So ops can be anything from substitution, which shows up on about 10% of the test, to polynomial division, which is about 0.5% of the test. Then we have like graphs, charts, tables, y equals mx plus b. So I'll talk about y equals mx plus b in a second when I'm talking about how understanding the concept makes the problem become significantly easier. But you can see y equals mx plus b, which is the sort of, big bucket concept that doesn't include like a whole lot of stuff. So ops is a big bucket concept, right? But it includes all kinds of stuff. It's a very variegated kind of a catch-all. And graphs, charts, tables, anytime you have a graph, chart, or table, like this is being called. So y equals mx plus b shows up about 15% of the test. That's a lot. That can be sometimes every like 4th to 6th question is going to be something like y equals mx plus b. And if you know all you have to do is find y equals mx plus b in that particular spot, then the problem goes really well, becomes very easy. Quadratic, anything from Frisbee, which is factors, roots, intercepts, zeros, and vertices, to like foiling, dots, and then obviously very infrequently quadratic formula. Geometry is only 10% of the test. So by knowing all of this information, having all of this information at the ready, we're able to make informed, intelligent decisions about what our kids should be studying and where the weight of their study should go. I want to start by showing you an example of how we can use mapping to understand what's going on in a passage. So when you're looking at this passage here on the left, you see that I've put some symbols and associated those symbols with it. So far, it just seems like I've marked it up in some way that's idiosyncratic to what the SAT is testing. And that's true, it is. So there are a couple symbols here. One is a turn word for anything that is negative, like not, but, however. One is hypothetical, might. Another is handcuffs, which we use anytime we have parenthetical phrases or positives that we can take out and read around it. We identify lists, we identify time words, and time is kind of a very broad understanding of what time means. So let's see how this works when we're doing it with a question. So I've mapped the part of the passage that I need to do this question. So here, let's look at number 1. At line 18, the focus of the passage shifts from. So imagine that you're a student doing this problem, and you have never been to like an SAT training before. When you're looking at this problem, you're just like, oh my God, I have no idea. All of these answer choices look super long, and it seems impossible that from reading this, I'm going to be able to answer this question. So now let's use the mapping symbols and see how that really can make a difference for students when they're approaching the passage. And remember, this is a timed test, right? So they need to go as fast as possible to demonstrate their sort of reading skills within the constraints of time pressure. So this is also about like
getting things as quickly as possible. So here on line 18, I have one April day. Oh, interesting. The focus of the passage shifts. So here I see one April day. What was happening before that? Because one day implies that there's a specific instance that you're going to tell me about. When I look in front of this, I see there's a list here. That's interesting. Mrs. Manstey's real friends were the denizens of the yards. Let's imagine, I don't know what denizens means. That's cool. But I can know that since it's a list, all the things in this list have some relation to each other. So the hyacinths, the magnolia, the green parrot, the maid who fed the cats, the doctor who studied late behind his mustard-colored curtains. Let's imagine, I don't know what denizens means, but I know that all these things are probably in the yard. Okay. So this is talking about her friends are. And then if I go back up here, just to get a sense of what else is happening in the paragraph. Long hours which she spent at her window was not idle. She read a little. So this is like what she does during the day, many days, right? So here, I'm learning about what she does many days, and here, one day, right? And then I notice a knock at the door announced the interest of her landlady. She did not care for her landlady, but she submitted her visits, whatever. Okay, so it looks like here we're talking about every day, and here we're talking about one day. So I'm going to write an answer in advance, and I want to pull text directly from the passage. So I'm going to write one day, because that's from the passage. And then before that, I'm going to write, let's see. I think I'm going to write list, because it seems like a list of things that she does all the time. How about this? Spent at window. Now, let's go through and see what I can chop, what I can identify as the thing that's wrong within each answer choice. So what I always tell the kids is that greater specificity leads to higher score improvements, because the more you can identify the specific thing that's going wrong with each answer choice, the more likely you are to be correct when you say that answer choice is wrong. So now, daily routine, like that, why that routine is important to her. I don't think we understood why her routine was important to her. Her landlady came in and she was like, yeah, I don't like my landlady. So I'm going to chop why routine important. And check this out, I'm chopping specific words, so why routine important. Then, general description of the main character, great, that's good. Sustained narration of an episode in her life, that seems okay, so I'm going to squiggle it. C, an overview of a dilemma faced with the main character. I don't think she was facing a dilemma, so I'm going to chop that. D, a discussion of the main character's pastimes, fine. But let's imagine I don't know the word pastime, so let's leave that out. A description of the main character is something. To a description of her attempts to develop a new one. She's not trying to develop a new anything, so I'm going to chop develop new. So that was pretty fast, right? And I chopped the specific words that I didn't know. The specific words that were wrong, and I read around the words that I didn't know. So here I read around the word denizen. Here I read around the word pastime. And you might be thinking everyone knows pastime. Disagree. I work with kids every day. They don't necessarily know the word pastime. So we want to come up with a strategy that's robust enough that you can read around it and everything is fine. So now we've talked about how it works in the reading section. Now let's look at the math section. In math, we know one of the concepts that shows up most on the test is y equals mx plus b. So we teach our kids to look for y equals mx plus b, and the easiest visual identifier for that is that here, so for instance, if I'm doing a y equals mx plus b problem, y equals 2x plus 4, right? I have one number with a variable and one number that doesn't have a variable associated with it. And yeah, you're right, there's like specific mathematical language that we can use to talk about that, but visually, if I'm trying to find this, as soon as I see this, I know that we're dealing with y equals mx plus b, and then I can invoke everything that accompanies y equals mx plus b, which is find your m, find your b. So I'll give you an example of how this can be incredibly useful in a problem like this. So this is a real test, the May 2016 test. This is the first test that they allowed grown-ups to take after the 2016 redesign. And so we were very unclear what the concepts were going to be because we'd only had 4 tests that were released. They weren't internally consistent. And so we didn't have a very clear idea of what concepts we should be looking for. So y equals mx plus b wasn't as big a deal to us then because obviously we have more tests now, so we have a better sense of what the concepts ought to be. So when I took this test, I remember getting to this problem and I stopped. And I was like, oh my God, I have no idea how to answer this problem. I don't know what to put in. Like, I remember I spent at least 5 minutes on it, which is anathema on the test, right? It's about a minute a problem, 20 problems, 25 minutes, and the problems do get harder. So I remember spending like 5 minutes not getting the answer right. But now, when I tell you it's y equals mx plus b, and I tell you this is y, and this is mx, and this is b, so your m, right, the invisible number next to the coefficient is a 1. So really what this is saying is y equals 1x plus 2, or here, t equals 1n plus 2. Okay? Then I know that when I'm looking for my m and my b, m, they're looking for the words per, each, and every. Per, each, every. So I'm always thinking that when I see a word like per, each, or every in the question stem, the thing that they're asking me, I'm going to need to know the slope. So here, once I realize that, right, with the power of hindsight, each additional cup of tea, oh wait, they're asking me for m. Oh wait, I know what m is. It's 1. That's the answer. So I, like many students, freaked out over this problem, got so many things wrong, and spent so much time trying like red herring solutions because I just couldn't understand what they were asking. Once I saw it through the lens of y equals mx plus b, I was like, oh, okay, that's not hard at all.
So the point of everything that we do with concept indexing and this idea of instances of a system, we want them to understand that they already have all the tools they need to succeed on the SAT when they walk in the door. I'm only here to help you organize those things, help you organize and understand all of the things you already have. We teach from the perspective, which we call strengths-based and positivity-based. We teach from the perspective that our kids already know everything. They just need it to be reframed, or they need to have the nomenclature that makes this specific to the SAT. They need to understand what those ties are. It's the beginning of understanding systems, as I was talking about earlier. And once they start understanding that the test, because it is a standardized test, is a finite map of concepts, right? You have a finite number of things that you can be asked about. So they can't ask anything. They can't ask everything. They can only ask within this finite bucket. And when you understand what all the finite skills are that they could be asking and how to start each problem, suddenly the test comes apart. Suddenly it's easy. Suddenly you have kids saying things like, everybody else in the testing room was freaking out, but I was fine because I'd taken a bunch of these tests. I knew what to look for. I knew how my timing was supposed to go. I wasn't intimidated. I wasn't afraid. That is agency. That's what we're here for. Knowing when to use what piece of knowledge is the hardest part. And that's the thing we're actually doing. We're helping you organize the information you already have. And then knowing that you actually do know stuff when you walk in. It's not like we're giving you a magic bullet. You already know how to do all of the stuff. And that builds confidence as well as critical thinking skills. And that confidence is the beginning of agency. Join us. Plant the seed. Help us bring our kids agency. It is literally the best gift you can give anyone else. Right? Teach a man to fish. So agency, that's our watchword. Planting the seed. Join us.
Thank you, Elissa, for your always entertaining and impassioned teaching style. For many of our students, this kind of dynamic and progressive education is new to them. Many come from areas that are extremely underfunded, school districts that suffer from numerous socioeconomic issues. And frankly, the option of attending a four-year school is just not on the radar for many of the school students in the areas that we serve. Right now, we know the existence of an achievement gap is no accident. It exists because of a history of violence and depression. Decades of explicit public policies that affect communities of color primarily, the very communities that our students come from. The recent and preventable deaths of Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, and George Floyd are tragic and modern examples of this larger historical problem. They were not isolated events. They are instances that are too common in the communities where our students grow up and call home. The work that we do at Ileana addresses only a small part of the challenges that our society must yet overcome. But our commitment to students means that we must actively commit to dismantling the systems of oppression that they face. We continue to dedicate ourselves to this urgent task, and thank you for your support as we do it together. This important work that Ileana Leadership Foundation is impossible without our community partners. Educational professionals in cities like Philadelphia or New York or Boston and the surrounding areas who work hand in hand, not just with Ileana, but on the ground with students. We wanted each of you to take a little piece of Ileana home with you, because when we have community partners, we're always sending them things that remind us of Ileana and the work that we do together. So we're going to ask you to open up box C for some complimentary Ileana-based items so you can take a little bit of tonight home with you and remember how important the work that we do is. Tonight, we celebrate one partner in particular. It's the inaugural Yleana Leadership Partnership Award. A longtime friend of the foundation, Dave Zagunis serves as Director of Special Projects for La Vida Scholars, based in Lynn, Massachusetts. La Vida Scholars' mission is to equip low-income, high-achieving students with the resources needed to enter great colleges. Dave has been an integral partner of Ileana, recommending countless students and ensuring that they receive the college access training needed to fulfill their potential by attending the Ileana Leadership Academy. But I'd like to turn over his introduction to a student who knows Dave even better than I do. Leonardo Aquino is a recent La Vida Scholar and Ileana Leadership Academy member before he entered Brown University, where he just graduated this spring. Please join me in welcoming Leo to the Ileana Campfire.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Leonardo Aquino Angel, and I'm currently a graduated senior from Wynn Classical High School, located in Wynn, Massachusetts. I will be attending Brown University this upcoming academic year. My parents came to this country from Guatemala after realizing they could no longer continue living in the circumstances they grew up in, and didn't want their kids to have to face the same burdens they faced growing up. Upon arriving in the US, they realized that their kids could live their dream, the American dream, and receive an education that would not only benefit them, but future generations as well. If it wasn't for my parents' noble sacrifice of leaving everything behind, along with the help of my partner organization, La Vida Scholars, I don't believe I would have the privilege to be attending the school of my dreams. My story on this path of success began about 3 years ago when I first applied to La Vida Scholars, which is a program designed to benefit academically excelling, diverse, and low-income students in my community throughout high school and especially the college application process. At first, I was really nervous to apply because I felt there were so many other capable kids who were more likely to be admitted into the program. However, at the time, my brother was involved in this program and told me all about how this program offers such a positive and supportive environment for all the students involved. I knew I wanted to take advantage of this resource. After finally deciding to apply, I was fortunately accepted, and my days in La Vida Scholars began shortly after. It was here where I met someone who would immensely impact the next 2 years of my life, Dave Zagunis. My first encounter with Dave began in our class's first official meeting of September of 2017. At the time, Dave was the executive director of this program, where he oversaw all of the grades activities as well as mentored the seniors. Over the course of the year, I saw his continual involvement in everyone's lives at this program as he pushed himself to bring greater change for everyone around him. I later learned that Dave had been doing so for over a decade, which is what led this program to grow as much as it has and continues to do so. His willingness to invest his time and energy to advise our bright minds into a path of greater success is what is most notable about Dave. He not only understands our circumstances, but he teaches us to utilize what we see as a disadvantage into an advantage, to believe in ourselves and our dreams. At the start of senior year, every student in La Vida is assigned a mentor among the staff and works hand in hand with them for the duration of the year. Fortunately, I was paired with Dave, and we were able to form such a close bond where I truly felt understood. My story, my background, and my desires for my academic future were all put on the table, and Dave was able to help me formulate this into my personal statement. Also early on in senior year, recommendations for the notorious Posse Scholarship were being placed. If you didn't know, Posse is a non-profit organization that awards high school seniors that display and exemplify leadership in their communities fully paid tuition towards schools in in partnership with Posse, located out of state. Dave felt I was capable of applying and recommended me for this. I made it to the final interview, and weeks before that final interview, I finally decided to sit down with Dave and inform him that I was no longer interested in participating in the final interview. At first, he asked me why, and my answer was simple. I felt I could achieve something even greater without having to sacrifice the comfort of knowing my family was close to me. We agreed that I would drop out of Posse if I was able to improve my SAT score just one more time when I took it in October. After much studying and putting into practice all of the skills I developed over the past summer at Yleana Leadership Academy, I was able to score a 1440 on the exam, and informed Posse I was no longer interested in participating in their final interview. The time to create the list of schools I was interested in applying to was coming around, and I knew I wanted to call at least one of these schools my home. I fondly remember the day I showed Dave the list of schools I was looking into, which is also the day we filed my FAFSA and CSS profile. Almost immediately, Dave asked me, "Why didn't you put down an Ivy school?" And to be honest, I didn't have an answer to that, besides the idea that I just didn't value myself the same way Dave valued me and my qualities. That night, we added Brown to my list, and the rest was history. In short, I want to express that Dave has always been such a motivating factor for me in my college application story, and he has done the same for countless other students involved in La Vida Scholars. Today, Dave is being awarded a Lifetime Achievement Award for his long-lasting dedication to students like myself who didn't believe what they perceived to be impossible to actually be possible. Even in his retirement years, Dave never ceases to falter in contributing in whatever he can in this program he helped develop, and makes such a positive impact in whoever he comes in contact with. Dave, thank you for all you've done for me and everyone at La Vida Scholars. Thank you on behalf of everybody.
I'm so grateful for this recognition. It's particularly meaningful to me because I hold the Yleana Leadership Foundation in such high regard. My first encounter with Ileana dates back to February 2014, when board member Max Rosen came to Lynn, Massachusetts at the invitation of Project Launch, a program of raw arts. Max shared about what Ileana was and what they were offering low-income students. As I listened to his description of the summer program, it dawned on me what a unique and amazing opportunity this was for our La Vida Scholars. You know, it's been said, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. But with Ileana, the good news actually was true. And for the last 6 years, Ileana has delivered for our La Vida Scholars and for many other students in the Northeast. Students from our program have attended the Summer Academy every single year. So what is it that makes Ileana so amazing? For starters, everything they offer the students is for free, no strings attached. And just because it's free doesn't mean that it's cheap. No, everything Ileana does, they do exceptionally well. Other programs offer summer SAT prep. Ileana turns SAT prep into a once-in-a-lifetime summer experience that has literally been life-changing for some of our students. Who else will rent a college campus for 3 weeks and handpick the best and most appropriate coaches who inspire their students as much as they teach them? But there's something even more distinctive and extraordinary about Ileana. And this is why the organization is so dear to my heart. It is the open-ended way they care about their students. As a result, students go through this summer program and come away with so much more than just dramatically improved SAT scores. As a result of these life-on-life encounters with people who are vitally interested in them, students learn to express themselves and to catch a vision for all that they can be. Victoria Grinnell, one of our Levita scholars, returned buoyant from her summer experience at Ileana in 2014. Even though there were no family funds, she was determined to broker her improved SAT score into a door-opening scholarship. She was heartbroken when her Questbridge application was turned down. But with some additional encouragement from Ileana, from Levita Scholars, she applied for the Posse Scholarship. She was accepted into one of the Posse schools, Union College, one of the top 50 colleges in the country. She majored in Chinese and political science. In her junior year, Union gave her an additional scholarship so she could spend a semester in China to improve her language skills. She came home with a passion to address global inequality in education. As a senior, she applied to and won a Fulbright scholarship to Taiwan to serve as a mentor and community worker. I cannot help but believe that this passion was born on that summer that she was served by the selfless staff of Yleana Leadership Academy. In the Gospels, there's a parable about a merchant who was in search of fine pearls. When he found one of great value, he went away and sold everything he had and bought that pearl. When people ask me why I'm so enthusiastic about Ileana Leadership Foundation, I tell them that back in 2014, I found a pearl of great value. And I can't stop talking about how amazing it is. Thank you.
Thank you so much to Dave for his Campfire story, and congratulations on the award. We're near the end of our night and our final storyteller. Before we hear from her, we want to let you know again that our work at Ileana is impossible without you. Whether it's becoming a volunteer, a mentor, or a funder, we want to connect you with the right opportunity to become involved in our work and our community. You can find out more about how you can contribute and get involved at ileana.org/get involved. We're approaching our $5,000 goal and are this close to sending an additional student to camp. We can't do it without you. Give today and make an impact from home. Visit ileana.org and look at how you can help. It's time for our final storyteller and our final gift. Please take out item D and enjoy. In your gala gift box, you'll find a little snack, because nothing says campfire like some s'mores. Since we didn't want to send you bars of chocolate to melt in your either home or the back of a FedEx box while it got to you, we opted for this delicious s'mores flavored popcorn snack. Enjoy them while you hear our last campfire story. Our final camp storyteller tonight grew up in the Bronx after moving here from Mexico at the age of 7. She was a standout Ileana Leadership Academy student and has remained very close to the staff, in particular Elissa, including her for holidays and continuing to attend Ileana events over the years, including our recent trivia match on Twitch. She graduated from Hunter College this summer, and after college will be working at a nonprofit community organization right here in New York in the Bronx that provides an array of services for underserved communities. In the future, she plans to return to school to get her master's in public health and continue her passion of minimizing the health disparities among BIPOC communities. Please join me in welcoming to the 2020 Ileana Campfire our final storyteller, Alondra Castillo.
Hi everyone. I hope that you and your family are staying safe during these unprecedented times. I also want to thank you for being here, supporting Ileana, and being a part of this unique event. My name is Alondra Castillo, and today I will tell you a little bit about my experience with Ileana and all of the meaningful work that they do. I have been part of the Ileana community since 2014. For me, Ileana was a disguised blessing. At the time that I first became involved with Ileana, I had just entered the foster care system. And as a young Latina who suddenly found herself with no one in her corner, I wasn't sure that my life had any purpose. This perspective immensely changed by the time that I was finished with camp. Although Ileana's mission is to reduce the achievement gap for underrepresented youth and underserved groups, which I'm a part of, it does so much more. The connections that I made with other students and my teachers at camp who look just like me inspire me to continue working towards a better life, a better one that was imagined by others for me. Ileana was successful in improving my SAT scores, which made me feel like a stronger applicant for college. However, I cannot say that after Ileana, I did not face any additional hurdles. On the contrary, once I graduated from high school and was admitted to an amazing school, which was Hunter College, I hit a wall that prevented me from enrolling for a whole semester. At the time, I was an undocumented student, and unlike today, resources for dreamers were virtually non-existent. Throughout these hurdles, my foster care agency refused to assist me, and I found myself beaten down with no help and little hope. I honestly did not think that I would be able to go to college. But with the little help and motivation that I had left, I decided to reach out to Elissa at Ileana to see if she had any needs for assistance. To my surprise, Ileana offered to help me enroll in college by offering to pay for 2 classes in exchange for interning with them. Honestly, this was more than I was expecting, and it truly is a testament to their immense generosity. And now, today, I can say unmistakably that Ileana has played a major role in transforming how I view myself. I went from being beaten down to now viewing myself as a strong Latina who deserves to have the same opportunities as everyone else, and someone who can achieve the same things as anyone else when I have the necessary tools. And you can really see this because once all of the economic hurdles that were removed after I received permanent residency and was qualified for financial aid, I completed my BA in sociology with a minor in community organizing. Today, this year. But more importantly, I realized that I was able to accomplish this because of those who continue to be behind me and those who keep rooting for me, like the amazing team at Ileana. I am a first-generation college graduate, and I cannot say that I ever thought of seeing myself where I am now. But all throughout this time, Elissa and everyone else who I met at Ileana really thought that I would get here. And that's amazing to know that there are people out there who believe in me more than others, and even just myself believed. again, I really want to thank you for listening to me and for all of your support. And I hope that you guys stay safe. And hopefully one day, we can all be out in the world together.
Thank you, Alondra, for sharing your story. And thank you for joining us at the inaugural 2020 Ileana Summer Campfire. Stories like Alondra's are what makes our organization run. We hope that you enjoyed some of the stories, whether it's from a student, supporter, or partner, and we hope that next year you can join them. It's not too late to get involved. Visit iliana.org/get involved or reach out directly to me, Nick at iliana.org, to Elissa at iliana.org, and find out how you can help. We'll see you next year.